Hey guys, it's Megan and I am here today with my very first plan with me. I actually recorded one a while back, but I really didn't like it and I had not really prepped very well for it. So I did that this time. As you can see, this was quite a bit back. This was from September. I was in Europe for this week, and so I really wanted this to be like a memory plan with me. And I've had everything for it. I just haven't gotten around to sitting down and recording this. So like I said, I'd already done one, and I'll flip over. So this was the week that I first went to Europe, and this is the Jetsetter kit from Glam Planner. And then I use these like bougie day extenders from Scribble Prints Co. I went all out. I have bougie, like the full bougie boxes. I really, since this was kind of a big deal of a trip, I went all out. So I can kind of like quickly run you just through this. Like I said, I had done this one before, but I just didn't like the way it came out. So Monday was really nothing. We were just getting ready to go. Tuesday, we flew out of where I live. There's an airport 30 minutes from me. And we had our flight into Philly. That's when I had my first ever Philly cheesesteak. And then we boarded our flight to Zurich. It was an overnight flight. And we did not get really any sleep on the plane. It was awful. Like, it was so uncomfortable. And it was an older plane, so we didn't have like our own TVs or anything. So yeah, it was a really difficult flight flying out there. I spent most of the time watching episodes of Arrow and listening on Audible to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I have a tired AF down here because I was tired AF. We arrived in Zurich on Wednesday. The girl whose family we were staying with, she was our intern last year. Well, she wasn't our intern. She did an internship here in where I live for a month and needed a place to stay. So we opened up our house to her. We didn't know her. It was totally outside of my comfort zone, but we had a blast. So she was like, come and stay with us. So we flew out and made it a full 2-week trip instead of just the 9-day cruise. And we spent time with her in Germany. So we flew into Zurich, Switzerland. Her boyfriend picked us up and we went to Rhine Falls. Jet lag started to hit me and I was actually really sick. So we drove from Switzerland into Germany where her village is. And then I crashed for a while, met with her family. We had dinner. We did a little walk around the village because after napping, I was feeling a little bit better. And then I was in bed by like 7:30 and slept for, I think, like 14 hours. So on Thursday, we just got up, had breakfast, and then we headed out. We went to this place called Bernau Church. I'm gonna mess up everything, so just deal with me. Which looked over Lake Constance, and then we drove into Austria and we went to Fander Mountain, which also looked over Lake Constance. And that was fun because I called my mom and I called my mom, like I FaceTimed her because we were both big fans of The Sound of Music, and it gave me all the Sound of Music feels because it was like hills behind us on one side and Lake Constance on the other. And we went to a grocery store. We had doner kebab for dinner, and then we watched The Voice, which is funny in Germany because and I don't know if it's about this in all European countries, but like swearing is allowed on TV, like normal TV, unlike here. So it was just really funny because they were cussing up a storm and it was like a mix of English and German listening to it. Friday, I was really excited for this day. We got up early and headed to Bavaria, where we got tickets to go to Neuschwanstein Castle. We went to lunch in a little place that had more of that like typical Bavarian food. So we had like a cheesy Spätzle and Wiener Schnitzel, or just Wiener. Yeah. And then we did the tour of Neuschwanstein Castle, got pictures from the bridge. And then we had game night. We played like a German version of Sorry, and I don't remember the name of it, but that was fun. And then on Saturday, we slept in. Verena and her boyfriend and I think her sister made like a kind of typical brunch with Weisswurst, and we had tomato mozzarella and warm pretzels and coffee, and it was so good. And then we just got packing because we were leaving the next day. We drove into Switzerland to go to a place called Stein am Rhein and wandered this really cute little village. And then we went to Hohenklingen Castle, where we totally crashed a wedding. And then we had some schnitzel for dinner that night. And then on Sunday, we got up to catch our flight to Copenhagen. We went to the Lego store. We wandered around for a bit, just getting food and stuff. But by 3 o'clock, I was like, I want to be back at the hotel. I want to do nothing for the rest of the day. Like, we weren't really there for Copenhagen. Like, I'd like to go and do that as a separate trip. So I was like, I know I should be wanting to explore, but I was exhausted. Like, jet lag was still affecting me probably up until the next day is when I finally stopped feeling super jet lagged. And then we just had burgers at the hotel instead of trying to figure out where to eat. I spent some time FaceTiming with my family, and then I showered so I could get ready for the next day. And it was really cool because we could see Tivoli from our hotel. We could see part of it, and they had fireworks that night, so that was really fun. So we could see just a view of fireworks from our hotel room. And we stayed at I think the Scandic Copenhagen, I think. So yeah, that was this week of September 16th to the 22nd. So I'm going to be doing planning for this week of September 23rd through the 29th. And this is this is the day we caught our cruise. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this filled in. I'm gonna go and just kind of zoom through this. I'll fast forward through it and then I'll come back to doing it live. I should mention the kits I'm using. So I've got this kit here from Harriet Wright Designs. Called Wanderlust. I picked this up a good while ago. I had been looking for something that really gave me that kind of European feel. This kind of still feels a bit more like Italian, but I think it still works. I mean, you see cobblestones and whatnot, and Lord, do they love their cobblestones over in Europe. So I just, it's got maps and a little traveler, so I thought this would be a perfect kit. So those are the full boxes, half, quarter. We got some scallop boxes. This is the deco sheet. You can see I've already taken some off because I was already prepping for what I would lay down for all those things. Date covers, headers and littles. We have some checked boxes over here, flags, more heart check boxes, which I'll probably just move out to the side because I don't think I'm gonna use that, and then washi. And then I don't think I'm going to need to, but I have these Glam Planner stickers that I think match the kit fairly well if I need to fill it out a bit more, because I do have a lot that I'm doing. I also just have some decorative foil here because I'm going to be using gold foil for this. So this is from Moose and Mittens. And then I have some full bougie boxes and bougie day extenders from Scribble Prints Co. These headers from, glitter headers from Tasseled Planner. Well, they're not glitter, they're a solid, but then they're foiled with these stars. This kit didn't come with glitter headers, so I just had to kind of determine what I thought worked best with that. And then here's just my prep stuff. So I have icons mostly prepped, and then everything I have written down in this notebook, what we did each day. So yeah, I'm gonna get started with that. I tend to like to work sideways. I don't know why that is. That's just how I am. So I apologize if that is bothersome to you, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started laying down that base. Okay, so as you guys can see, I ended up not recording the laying of the spread. it was just really hard to do that on camera because I feel like I need to be really close to the planner. Maybe because I'm still working on getting comfortable with it, but either way, I just ended up not recording that and adding that in. So you can kind of see like my sidebar and stuff like that. And I was talking about how the upper corner where the date stuff is, that stuff just doesn't tend to bother me. So, or seeing some of the color in like the lower, in the boxes where the headers and stuff are. So, in that sidebar, I'll put my happy moments in at the end. I'm going to make a quick disclaimer here and say that this is really my first plan with me, and this is my first voiceover, and I feel like I could have done better, but I'm really still learning how to use iMovie, so please be kind. So we woke up, again, we're in Copenhagen now, so we woke up at our hotel in Copenhagen, and this was the day that we were getting on our cruise ship. We were doing the Norwegian Epic. I have cruised with Norwegian once before, so I was all about taking Norwegian again because we had a really good time on that cruise. That was about 8 years ago. So we got up, got ourselves ready. Oh, here I'm using this Erin Condren pen marker thing, and it really does not like the vinyl that is with the Harriet Wright Design. So later I end up switching, I think, to a Ink Joy. Yeah, I think I switched to the Papermate Ink Joy later. So I'm just mentioning on here that we are getting up early. I wanted to be at the port, I think, like a solid 2 hours before we could start docking. Before we could start boarding, and I think. And I can't remember if we could start boarding at noon or 11. So we had breakfast and everything at the hotel and just got that out of the way. And then eventually we'll take a taxi cab to the port. It was really weird though because it seemed very disjointed, and maybe because the first time I cruised, my parents, it was like their anniversary, and it was for a wedding for my mom's best friend, and that was 8 years ago, and we did the Norwegian Epic. But we were, like, it went really smoothly then, and because my parents got us a suite for the whole family, there was a separate entrance onto the cruise ship, and that wasn't the case on this cruise ship. I did not see any kind of separate entrance for anybody who was staying in the Haven, and that could just be because it's not that big of a ship. Like, the Epic is a really large ship, and the Getaway is just not as large. Originally, we were not certain if we were even going to do a cruise. My husband has a fear of pirates, but I was like, the Baltic Sea does not have pirates. So I convinced him to do this. He loves, I don't know if I've already said this, but he loves like the Germanic, Scandinavian type countries. So this was a perfect first trip to Europe for us, was doing a Baltic Sea cruise and visiting a bunch of countries that we may not have visited otherwise. Although I would like to find myself back in Copenhagen at some point, even though my first thought was it's not a very nice city. It was beautiful. It has very beautiful buildings, but it was just kind of, there was graffiti everywhere and trash everywhere. There was so much broken glass. It was ridiculous. And a lot of other countries that we were in weren't like that. So it was a little disappointing, but I would like to do a couple different things while we're there with like a Little Mermaid tour and stuff like that. So the icons that I'm currently using, that little one for breakfast is from Coffee Monsterz Co, and then the taxi is from Paper Blush Bar. Those are you're gonna see that kind of repetitively. Coffee Monsterz Co, Paper Blush Bar, and then the little cruise ship is from Tasseled Planner. Tasseled Planner is now closed, so I'm glad I picked up those cruise ships because they're just perfect for what I need them for this trip. So we got on the ship, and then it was really just felt very disorganized getting on the ship, and we were going through the line, like we put our luggage through security check, and then they were going to bring it on board for us, and they're like, do you have a number? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what is a number? Like, what do I need this number for? And they're like, oh, just go in line. And so we went in and got our, like, IDs and stuff like that. And, yeah, and just got on the ship. I don't know if we were supposed to have boarded then. I have no idea how it worked. Like I said, it felt very disorganized. Maybe that's a language thing, because when we did it in Miami, it didn't feel that way. So we got on the ship. We had lunch at the Garden Cafe, which is just one of the buffets. I mean, and, they're prepared for that. They're like, get on board. Enjoy your food. It'll be a couple hours before your rooms are available. I can't believe they turn over as quickly as they do. I think you're off the ship by like 10 a.m. and then you can start boarding within an hour or 2 hours of that. So they turn over the ship really quickly. And then we just kind of went exploring. The little magnifying glass is part of the kit from Harriet Wright Designs. So is this little one. After, when our room was available, we went up to our room to kind of unpack and relax. And then we had dinner the first night at Moderno, which is a Brazilian steakhouse. It was so good. It just wasn't very busy. And so it was like a little slow getting the food to come around. And then, and that little icon there for the meals was from Harriet Wright Design. That was a foil icon that I had ordered recently. And then that last one is we went to the welcome show, and that icon is, or that character sticker, is from Let's Planet. Our core characters, which are just so funny, so sassy. They're my favorite character stickers. I have so many of them. And I think she's got new ones coming out for Black Friday, so I'm even more excited for that. So then, again, we did the welcome show, which just kind of gives you a taste of all the different shows that they have on board. And we did end up booking some of those, and those were complimentary for the most part, which was really nice. The wine and comedy show was not. So on Tuesday, we woke up and, well, it was technically Warnemünde in Germany, and I am going to apologize that I am not great at pronouncing European countries or towns. I did put Rostock, but technically it was Warnemünde. And then from here, we could go into Rostock. We could spend time in the little town, or we could take, I think it was like a 45-minute, maybe hour, I don't remember, train into Rostock. Most people did a 3-hour bus ride into Berlin, and we decided we did not want to do that. I'm like, it's going to be so crazy. I don't want to spend 6 hours of my day on a bus. Like, that's not fun. So we're like, we know we'll be back to Germany more than once. If my husband has it his way, one day we will move to Germany, but we'll find ourselves in Berlin again. We had coffee and breakfast at Ocean's, which is one of their complimentary restaurants on the ship. It was okay. It wasn't amazing. And then we took the train into Rostock. And Rostock it was so beautiful. It's kind of like a college town. There is a university there, and there's a bunch of like old cathedrals and stuff. And so, like, I put on there train and tram. That was, my husband speaks German pretty well, and we had a hard time trying to figure out the system. We're like, do we need multiple tickets? Do we just need one ticket? And they work on the an honesty policy. Like, everybody's just like honest, and there's something about, I don't know what the phrase is in German, but something about like how everything runs on time. Everything's organized in Germany. So, but we struggled trying to figure out how to get the tickets and how many tickets we needed. Like, do we need a new ticket when we get into Rostock and we're switching over to the tram? We went to, I wrote it in German. It's like the newer market, which is really even not that much newer. So we went there, and they had a bunch of little like vendors, kind of like not a craft show, but kind of like a craft show. That's what I could think of here. And we kind of wandered that for a bit, and then we stopped in a little place and got some pastries so we could snack on them. We weren't planning on, at the time, we weren't really planning on eating there, so we just picked up a couple things so we could snack throughout the day. And then we visited some cathedrals. I wrote just down all the cathedrals that we'd visited, but not necessarily in this order. So first we went to St. Mary's, which had this like really cool like clock thing that we spent quite a bit of time checking out. We also went to St. Peter's, which had this amazing view of the city, just absolutely beautiful view of the city. And then we wandered to St. Nicholas, which I guess wasn't open. We couldn't figure out how to get in. And there was other people who were wandering around trying to figure out how to get in. And then I think we just determined it wasn't actually open for us to see. But we wandered the outside and then the little garden and stuff like that. We did, between St. Mary's and St. Peter's, we went to lunch at this place called Alex, which it was okay. They weren't really nice in there, unfortunately. And I found out like later it was like a chain. It's like kind of a Panera of sorts over there, I feel like. So kind of a fast casual feeling to it. And then after St. Nicholas, we were walking back. We stopped at Steintor. It's like a gateway. There's a bunch of different gateways to the city. And we got some pictures there. And then right from there, we got the tram and then train back to the ship. So we got back and we used that time we got snacks at the buffet. And then we went and played some mini golf, which they had. It was cold. So this was September, late September. It was chilly on the ship. It's very well heated, and there were times that, like, even at the buffet, it's cold outside, but they have, like, heat blowing out by part of the buffet and the outside seating. So we didn't have any problem even sitting outside. We were comfortable enough with, like, sweaters and light jackets. So while we were still, because we were docked here for a long time, like I think until like 9 o'clock or something like that, because the trip into Berlin. So the ship was pretty empty, which was really nice. So we did mini golf, which is up on one of the upper decks. We wanted to do the ropes course, but it's only open at certain times and only if weather's permitting. So at that time it wasn't, but we had some fun playing mini golf, and I'm terrible. My husband's great. I'm awful at it. And then we just did we had a nap and relaxed in the room. We did have a like mini suite. Well, I don't even think it was a suite, but we had a balcony room. And I know a lot of people when they do cruises, they're like, oh, I don't plan on spending much time in my room, so I don't mind having like a really basic cabin. It doesn't need to have like a window or anything. We tend to spend, no matter where we go on our trips, we tend to spend a lot of time in our hotel rooms or stuff like that. So I wanted us to be really comfortable, especially on this cruise, being that it was a Baltic Sea cruise, and it wasn't like some party cruise in the Caribbean, and we don't really drink, so we didn't spend a lot of time in bars. It was just the two of us. It was really like, we knew it was going to be a busy trip, so we were happy also just relaxing in our room when we could. For dinner that night, we went to Savor, and I had steak. I ate a lot of steak that week. I was like, there were some nights that I'm like, okay, I need to eat something other than steak. Mark had baked ziti, apple strudel for dessert. Mark had the apple strudel. I had the mint chocolate mousse. And we usually also started off with like some kind of appetizer. I don't remember what we had that night. And then there was a interactive game show thing called Escape the Big Top, which was like an escape room, and you're seated in teams, which was fun because we got to know some people on the ship, and then you work together as a team to see who can get out, who can figure out like the code to get out of the room first. Of course, it wasn't actually closed. It's not like a normal like escape room, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm glad that we did do that. I really wanted to do it again. I was like, can I do this again? Because it was just fun. Wednesday was a sea day. I don't know why I put day extenders on sea days, because we really weren't that busy. Again, we like to spend time in our room. We like to be very relaxed. So I'm going to use a little cruise ship sticker. We slept in We were so tired. I was tired the entire trip. I swear, I got back the first week of October from this vacation. I still feel jet lagged. I feel like I have not, not been tired since I got back from this trip. And I just tell everybody, I'm like, my excuse is that I'm just jet lagged for the rest of the year, and hopefully in 2020 I'll be back at it. We had breakfast then at the buffet, and the buffet was fine. I think we did the buffet because we slept in. If I could eat at a sit-down restaurant, then I would for breakfast, but we were sleeping in, so we didn't have many. I think, some of the, restaurants stopped serving breakfast at, 9 or something. So we would just go down to the buffet, which was fine, and I didn't mind trying a couple different things. Sorry about that. That was... I just dropped my mic. Still learning so much. My friend just texted me and it just dinged on my laptop. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so we just would go to the buffet, and the buffet was fine. I could usually find something I could eat and feel satisfied with. Of course, buffets are still buffets. They are very adamant about people washing their hands, especially as we're going into this, cold season. So anytime you went, near the buffets, there was somebody who was like, washy, washy. So they would spray hand sanitizer, and there's hand sanitizer all over the ship. It is highly encouraged to use that. As I'm certain most of us know, we've seen those things of people getting, a massive breakout of the flu or whatever, stomach bug on the cruises. So they were very adamant that we stayed very clean. After breakfast, we just went back to our room and watched The Spy Who Dumped Me, which was really funny. Later, we decided to get up and explore some more on the ship. Mark taught me how to play shuffleboard, which it was very windy, but we had fun. I have no idea if we were even playing right. I was like, how do you play shuffleboard? And my husband's like, it's like curling, but not on ice, and you don't have a broom. And I love watching curling. Curling is one of my favorite Olympic sports to watch. Then we went and they had a library on the cruise ship, so we went down and just kind of sat in there. We played checkers and Chinese checkers. And then later we had lunch just at the buffet. The buffet was just easy. Like I've said, it's not great, but it was easy to just eat, get quick food and whatnot. And if you're really hungry, you're like, I don't even care. Just give me some food. We then, I gotta lift this. In the atrium, I think on deck 7, I think they, it was the atrium. There was a couple bars sitting right there. That was usually where guest services and stuff was. They had games, game show type stuff going on all day long. So there was a Cinemoji game, and so they put up emojis, and you in an order, and you had to guess what movie they went to. And then afterwards, Mark competed in the brain race, which had 4 people, and that one took forever. And finally, he should have won it, but they were cheering him on to give the point to another person, and Mark's like, he's better. We're kind of competitive people, so we don't like losing. Then we went back to our room just to relax. I just added some little decor sticker there just to kind of fill that space. Dinner that night, any night that we were at sea, and you can't see me doing this, but I am doing air quotes because there was a day that we weren't at sea, but we treated it as an at sea day. Those nights we did the restaurants that you have to pay for. We'd gotten a package. Since we didn't do a drink package, we did an internet package, and then we did a meal package. So we had 4 dinners that we just paid one flat rate for. So we went to Le Bistro. I had a frisee salad, and then I had like a filet mignon kind of thing, and then creme brulee. I don't even remember what Mark ate. I was just so excited to eat my food. And then after that, we were kind of just we just wandered the ship. I didn't put that on here, but we would usually just wander around through like the art exhibits. And then I just went back to our room and I was journaling. We were both journaling. I did it on like a little notebook that I showed you guys earlier in the video, and he was journaling like on his phone, just his opinions on some stuff. Again, I'm just adding in little bits of deco because, again, I don't really think I needed those data centers on at sea days, but that happened. So on Thursday, when we woke up, we were in Estonia. We were so excited for Estonia. It was probably the country we knew the least amount about, so we were really excited to just kind of get in. One of the really nice things about this Baltic Sea cruise is, for the most part, everything is really close. It's like a quick tram, or a lot of places were walking distance. So in Estonia, we were in Tallinn. I think it's Tallinn. I think we kept pronouncing it Tallinn, but I think it's actually Tallinn. So we were in Tallinn, Estonia. And it was like you were, docking right in the town. And then it was, I think, like a 15, 20, maybe 30-minute walk, I don't remember, to the old town. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could very well be, it's like the oldest preserved town in Western Europe. Western Europe. I believe. So I could be completely wrong, but I thought it was one of the oldest preserved towns. Let me tell you, Europe likes cobblestones. If you've never been to Europe, they fucking love cobblestones. And it pisses my husband off, because it's not like you go to a place in the United States and they put down a cobblestone road. It's usually like brick and it's flat on the top. Nope. These are just rounded rocks that are a nightmare to walk on. I bought a pair of Rothy's because I heard that they were super comfortable, and they were. When we were in Germany and touring around Germany, I had no problem in my Rothy's. When we got into these other places that are just nothing but cobblestone, I was in so much pain. And my husband was like, it's not like old, it's just shitty. Like, there's no, he's like, replace the cobblestone in these places. It's just, you get a lot of the, old traditions and everything else. We don't need cobblestone roads. And so we were both very sore. He kind of twisted his ankle. I really think the only way we would have been comfortable is if we'd had hiking boots. But I didn't think I would need them. Now I know better. So, again, we walked into the old town, dealt with cobblestones, and there's a lot of time that you have to walk in the road, even though there are cars driving through, but the sidewalks are really skinny, so just to avoid running into other people, you're walking in the road. We walked all the way up. It's like a giant hill kind of thing, up and went to the Russian cathedral, which was absolutely gorgeous. We were right by Parliament. We didn't go in Parliament, but we had some pictures by Parliament. And it's crazy because it's this old town, but Parliament's still there. People are still working in these places. And it's just crazy to me that in Europe it's so old, and that's just people's everyday lives. And I'm blown away by that fact. It's just so strange, because I just don't feel like we have a lot of that in the U.S. So I was just endlessly gawking at how incredibly gorgeous all of these towns were. And just feeling that ancient ways of it all. So then we walked over, we did, I think, Bishop's Garden, and then the Danish King Garden. And then I was I had to pee so bad. There was no place to go to the bathroom. There had been one public restroom, and if you don't know anything about public restrooms in parts of Europe, so around here we have porta potties, and there they have these weird pods that are self-cleaning, and they can be really nice. Mark went in, I think, one in Germany, in Rostock, and it was actually pretty decent. Like, you put your hands under there, and it washes your hands, and then after you're done washing, it will dry them for you, and then it self-cleans. So, like, sanitizes the whole thing before the next person can go in. There had been one up by Bishop's Garden, I believe, but at the time I didn't really need to pee. And we were trying to decide if we wanted to eat somewhere, and they had this, like, Renaissance style, like an old, like, original foods of Estonia, but we couldn't really see anything that we liked on the menu, so I didn't go in there to go to the bathroom. But I was, like, dying. Mark's like, well, and I'm totally probably going to pronounce this wrong, but they have this, like, old fort type thing called Kick in the Cock. Don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's how we kept pronouncing it. And he wanted to see that, so I'm like, okay, it's fine, we can go up there. Like, I can hold it. I can't believe I don't have a bladder infection from this trip. So on our way back to the ship, we did come across another of those little pod bathroom things, and it was just outside of the old town, and it was awful. Like, I just needed to pee, so I sucked it up and went in there, because I don't use porta potties, but I had to do whatever I could, because I was not going to make it back to the ship. And then we walked back to the ship. Also, what I don't put in a lot of these is we did get souvenirs at all these places, so we did shop in a lot of them. We got back to the ship and had a late lunch. I think we were back like a couple hours early. And then we went back to our room to just kind of relax. So one big thing, and I haven't put it in here, but I want to figure out a way to talk about it, was while we were in Europe, we are both pretty political people, so we like to follow politics, and we had MSNBC. And that's when the impeachment stuff really started gathering momentum, was while we were in Europe. And there was some kind of public hearing of some sort that Thursday. So it was going to be like 4 o'clock our time. I think it was 10 a.m. here. So we wanted to be back in time to watch that hearing that was starting. And then we had dinner that night at Tropicana. I had potato croquettes, steak skewers with saffron rice. It was so good. We couldn't decide what we wanted on the menu. So I was like, can I do 3 desserts? And the person was like, sure, that's fine. Like, do as many as you want. So we split 3 desserts, and it was really good. And then that night we did Burn the Floor, which was like a dance, like ballroom dance style of stuff, and there was like this whole story to it, kind of like felt like a little bit like Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, I don't really know, let's go more Romeo and Juliet, story to it, and that was an amazing show to watch. I don't know why I'm just kind of sitting here, why this is blank, there we go, well, here we go, I'm moving again. And what I'm watching from this is it looks really weird, and I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out using iMovie. So hopefully when I actually upload this, it doesn't look like this. So on Friday, we woke up in Russia, and Russia was, so if you don't know much about traveling to Russia, you have to have a special visa to get in and visit Russia. And we were in St. Petersburg. There are some allowances if you are with an excursion, like a tour, then you can enter in and you don't have to have that special visa. If you wanted to go in and wander and do your own thing, you had to have a special visa. We didn't know that until like towards the closer as we got to the vacation, and so we're like, we'll just book an excursion. The thing with that is, like, you have a specific time that you're supposed to be, like, meet the excursion, meet the bus. It takes you into St. Petersburg. It does, like, do a little bit, drives around. And then we did the Hermitage Museum, which was amazing. It was very busy. Leaving was a hot nightmare. It was awful. It was so packed in the exit when we were trying to get out. And for whatever reason, you couldn't exit out the main doors. Like, you had to exit out, like, smaller set of doors. And you have to walk through, like, this hallway that has a bunch of coat closets and stuff like that. And it's so packed, and people are so rude. So we were really unhappy about that. And we were just, like, trying to get out. And then just, everybody, like, you've got, like, hundreds of people, if not more, just trying to get out one doorway. So we took the bus into St. Petersburg. I wrote St. Pete because I couldn't finish it all. Did the tour of the Hermitage, and we did the Gold Room. We paid a little bit extra for that, which we couldn't take pictures in the Gold Room. They had artists like Titian, Da Vinci, and Rembrandt. Those were probably like the biggest ones that I knew while we were there. Obviously not the Mona Lisa, that is in the Louvre, but this is like the second largest collection of art, or the first largest, I don't remember if it was bigger, but collection of art in Europe. We obviously couldn't see everything, especially because we had to be at the Gold Room at a very specific time. And I think they said if you spent like a minute on each individual piece of art, or like a minute per room, I don't know, it was something like 8 hours or 8 days or something it would take you to get through the whole thing. I can't remember. We left the Hermitage to go souvenir shopping at a different place. They were like, the excursion people, the tour leaders were like, we're going to go somewhere else. It doesn't, like, it's really expensive here, and this way you'll have a bit more freedom. You'll feel a little bit, like, less rushed and whatnot. So we went to some other souvenir shop. We picked up some Matryoshka dolls, and little souvenir ornaments. They had so if you don't know the Matryoshka, they're like the Russian nesting dolls. So you open them, you open one, and then you open another one, and until you get to like the little one. My mom had one when I was growing up, so I picked up one. They were more expensive than I realized, but they're all hand painted and they're gorgeous. But they had Matryoshka dolls with like celebrities and stuff, and there was one. I should have included a picture in this. Maybe I'll put it on my Instagram when I post the spread on Instagram. But they had one that was like, it was Putin and Trump on like the, outside. And then when you open the first layer, it's a Putin image. And then when you open the second one, it's a Trump. And then all the way down to like a teeny tiny little Trump. So I'm like, this is what my nightmare is. But it was really funny. We got back to the ship and we went to an early dinner. We were really, really tired. So we just had an early dinner, relaxed in our room. Mark taught me how to play poker that night, so we just played some card games. We watched Killers, and then we had like late night snacks at Oceans because I did start to get hungry. And Oceans, I think, is open 24 hours, so you can get food there. He would never let me order room service. And there's like a service charge for it, but I was just like, some days I just don't want to leave the room. But he wouldn't let me order room service. And like the buffet and stuff, they have signs all over that says you can't fill your water bottles, and I need cold water. And I bought a new water bottle for this trip because usually I just have one with like a straw, but I wanted one that had like a screw top and whatnot. So finally towards the end of the week, I was like I'd get a bunch of ice from the buffet in a cup, and I would take it back to the room, and then I would put it in my water bottle. And not that people weren't filling their water bottles at these stations, but I'm not always a rule breaker. I was trying to see if I could write. Sorry, I was watching to see what I was doing. I was trying to see if I could write on the bougie box, and I couldn't. So I had to change up my plan here. So I would bring ice, and then I would just fill water from the tap, which was fine. Like, it's clean. Like, I've gone to Mexico twice, and I've gotten sick twice in Mexico. And so I was real cautious about this trip, and my doctor gave me an antibiotic I could take in the event that I did get sick. But I didn't have any problems. And again, I drank the tap water. We were fine. I don't know if anybody else would do that, or like if there are a lot of people who just wouldn't. But again, I did. It was no big deal to me. I just wanted it to be cold. Like, I need cold water to feel like I am like being hydrated. And I feel like my voice is starting to get scratchy because I don't usually talk this long. So I apologize. On Saturday, so I put this as an at sea day, which you can't see, and I don't know if I move this. Probably don't. Technically, we were still in Russia. We were still docked in Russia because Russia was like the big trip, St. Petersburg, and there's so much to do. And so people who had excursions for like both days, because there was some point, like I think there was like an hour or so, like 2 hour, like bus ride into some places. to like one of the palaces, I think. And so, but we treated this as an at-sea day. We only paid for the one excursion into the Hermitage. We were going to do more, but I was like, I really, like, I need more relaxation days. Because this would have been, if we had done both days in St. Petersburg, it would have been Estonia, St. Petersburg, and then on Sunday we are in Helsinki. And then Monday we were in, I think it was Monday. Monday we were then in Stockholm. So I really wasn't having that. So we just enjoyed that Saturday, treated it as an at-sea day. So we slept in, we didn't even get breakfast, we just went to O'Shea's for lunch. I think I had a Reuben, and then I did dessert. I think I had strawberry shortcake for dessert. Normally when I'm eating out at restaurants and stuff at home, I don't usually get appetizers and desserts. But when you've paid a lot of money for a cruise, you're getting all the appetizers and desserts you can. We got Starbucks, and then that day there was like a legit Starbucks on the ship. And I don't think it was any more expensive than Starbucks around here. So we got some Starbucks and then did a scavenger hunt. And again, not everything's in order. There was some trivia that we played. We went back to the library and played checkers for a bit until the next game started, and then we did Pick-to-Words. That day I did start packing because we just had dirty laundry. So I'm like, I'm just going to start putting that away. And then we ended up doing a scavenger hunt, which was a lot of fun. We were competing against another couple. They were from Seattle, we found out. So when we all got back to, I think he had like 45 minutes or something like that to do all this stuff. And they had some funny ones, like a guy wearing lipstick. And so I'm like, Mark, I've got lipstick in my bag. And he went into the bathroom, put lipstick on, took a picture, and then wiped it right back off. And it was more of like one of those lipsticks that just kind of changes color slightly with your skin tone. So it wasn't like anything. I'm like, you could easily just wipe it off right here. But he's like, no, I need to be in the bathroom. There was a proposal in front of one of the bars. And so we got a picture. We had somebody take a picture of us where I was proposing to him in front of the bar. One was 3 people, I think, sleeping in the library. And so we went into the library, and there was only there was a couple in there playing a game or something. And I'm like, do you mind if we take a picture with you guys? And I'm going to pretend to be sleeping, and Mark's going to get a picture. And so they were like, yep. And then, of course, this couple that we were playing against, they went in there and did the same thing, too. So they asked the people to pretend they were sleeping. So that was kind of funny. After the scavenger hunt, we sat with this couple from Seattle for a long time and just we talked politics and what it's like living in the Pacific Northwest, which is one of my dream places. Like, I've never been there, but I've always wanted to go, and I just feel like it's the perfect place for me. We talked with them for a while, and then they had to get ready for dinner because they had reservations. We went back to our room to kind of get ready and relax, and I fall asleep at home watching Friends. Like, I have my headphones in, then that's how I fall asleep. Because I didn't have internet access, I had downloaded Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, so every night I was listening to Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix. Sometimes we'd just go back to the room, and it wasn't like for napping, but I would just lay and listen to it. I cut the spots just to make it kind of fit a little bit better, and then for dinner that night we went to Cagney Steakhouse, so of course we had steak. I had filet mignon again, truffle mashed potatoes, and then cheesecake. And I think the cheesecake was one of my favorite desserts I'd had. That and then the bread pudding I'd had earlier that week at Tropicana. And I have never really liked bread pudding, and I don't know why, because I love a French toast that's more custardy, and that's kind of what this reminded me of, the bread pudding. So I feel like bread pudding should be something I enjoy. And then I'm trying to figure out what to do. Oh, I just took they're a bunch of like header washi thingies. And I'm like, I need to fill the space because, again, I didn't really need to put in a day extender. So I just put these down. It doesn't look great, but I don't really care. This is just for me to one day flip back and be like, look at this vacation. And then I went looking for some scripts. I think I say later when I go back to live at the end of the spread that I need to get more. I have a lot of travel quotes that are in silver, but I was doing all gold for this, from the Ginger Cat Co. And so I'm trying to find gold quotes that kind of work with this. And I ended up going with keep going, keep growing. It was really the only thing that I'm kind of growing. I'm exploring the world. So Sunday, I was so excited for. It was the day that one of the days I've been looking the most forward to. We have friends who live in Finland. They were actually, Tony spent a year, I think, going to college with my husband. He was here on, I think, like a hockey scholarship. And so they got to be friends. And then he was back in Finland. And then eventually his job had him working in Miami because he works, he doesn't work for cruise, like different cruise lines, but he works with, he's like an engineer. I don't know exactly what he does, but he does something. And it usually involves with cruise ships. So he was in Miami for like 5 or 6 years. And then they ended up going back to Helsinki because they were going to move him to something that he just didn't want to do. So they're like, we're just going to go back to Helsinki. And it was the perfect timing because they moved back to Helsinki a month before our trip. So when we got up, we had breakfast, and then we met them. They picked us up from the port, and they took us for a drive around the city. And again, it's so amazing to have friends that can kind of show you around. So we didn't plan anything for this day. There was nothing I was all that concerned about seeing. I just wanted to spend time with our friends, and let them just kind of show us where, their place. So we just kind of drove around. I did not even fill that in. I'm looking at my planner right now, and I never wrote anything in there. I just put the card icon down. Didn't do anything else. And again, this is not in order, but I put some stuff. So first we went to Helsinki Cathedral, and they're like, well, you can't go in right now because we're having service. But our friend's like, we're Finnish. We speak Finnish. They won't know that we're not here for service. So we literally got our hymnals, walked in, sat for a second, took some discreet photos, got up and walked out. And then we went, we were going to do the sky wheel, so just a Ferris wheel, like an enclosed Ferris wheel that you could look over the city. But it wasn't open yet, so we stopped and got coffee and some Finnish pastries. Tony bought 6 of them for us to try. So then after the sky wheel, we kind of took a bit of a walk in kind of more of the metropolitan area. It was a big city. And we had lunch, I think, at Zaytor's, which I think is a chain. I'm looking it up on my phone real quick. But he was like, if you want Finnish food, maybe that's not right, because I'm getting tractors when I look this up. He's like, this is the place to go. Oh yeah, Zaytor, Helsinki restaurant. Mark had reindeer, and I wasn't opposed to trying reindeer because I eat venison, but I was just I've eaten so much I've eaten food. I'm I just want a salad, so I just got a salad with chicken. It was actually really, really good. And then from there we walked over to the Rock Church, which was it's got a couple different names. I think it's not it can also be called Church of the Rock. I don't know, but it's a church essentially built into a rock, and it was really pretty. It reminded me a lot of the Frank Lloyd Wright style, where he kind of he builds things and there's not supposed to be a big gap between what's manufactured and nature. When we lived in Madison, we attended this Unitarian church a couple of times, and it's the glass from the windows went straight into the into wood, not a pane or anything. It just went straight in there. So that's keeping with that. And then that night we had dinner at Taste, and we did the $1 Million Quartet. And I think I'm about to go back live. I added a bit of decoration. Anyway, oh, they gave us a bag full of goodies, of finished goodies. Some of it was taken away. And then that night we did taste in the $1 Million Quartet, which was an awesome show. All right, so that is pretty much it. We are back to live now. Yeah, it was an amazing trip. I can't wait to go back to Europe. There's so many more things I want to do. This was just really good though for, sorry if you can hear my dogs walking around behind me. This was really good for like a sampling of what to expect in Europe. So I think it was a really good choice for our very first trip there. I am quickly going to just fill in my happy moments, which really was just the whole trip. So on Monday we boarded the ship. Tuesday we were in Rostock. Wednesday, it was just a really good, relaxing day. And any of the days that we weren't, any days that we were at sea, and I treated this day, I counted this day, we ate at one of the, like, a la carte, you have to pay for them restaurants. So this was just a nice, relaxing day. And then Rostock, sea day, yep, Estonia. Friday we were in Russia. Technically Saturday we were also in Russia, but I'll just zoom in real quick. However, we didn't get off the ship. For those, like I explained earlier, just having to do the, oh, I'm like, what are those? Because of needing to have very specific visas, and we didn't want to spend all that money on different, on so many different excursions. And then Sunday, we spent time with our friends. Tony and Rika in Helsinki. So yeah, that is my trip. Let me see, I need a quote to put over this right here. So let me see what I can find. I need more, I have travel quotes in silver, but not in gold. So I need to, order some. I have my favorite travel quotes I've picked up so far from the Ginger Cat Co. So that's what I used on the other page. We'll use this one from the Sitckie Committee. It is never too late to be what you might have been. And for me, that was a world traveler. And I can't wait to do more traveling. It was amazing. What are you doing? So yeah, that is it. That was my trip. I am so excited to have this done for you guys. I will make sure I tag any and all the shops that I used in the bottom, all of my things. Yep. Yep, that's all I have for you guys today. Be sure to give me a follow on Instagram at Glam Planner for pictures of all the other spreads I'm constantly working on. You guys have a great day, a great week, I don't know when this is going up, and a very happy Thanksgiving, however you choose to celebrate it. Bye. Okay, so please forgive me, but I wanted to show you, since I just had this plan with me going through the week that I was in Europe. I wanted to finish it up because we crept into the next week, which I did like a totally different spread for since it was the first week of October. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys how the rest of our trip went. So on Monday, we woke up in Sweden and we had pancakes at Taste. And then we got ready. And originally we weren't even going to leave the ship because we were exhausted. But I'm like, when are we going to find ourselves in Stockholm again? Let me tell you, as often as possible, I loved Stockholm. And again, we didn't dock in Stockholm. We were like, I think like a solid hour and a half outside of it. Sorry, I'm gonna sit. I'm standing, but I'm gonna sit, and I'm just gonna continuously apologize for how shaky this looks. So we got ready, and then we took a train and a tram into Stockholm. This one was really nice because we purchased the transportation tickets that would work on all different kinds of things, and they worked for 24 hours. So we just did that. So we knew that we always had the right tickets. So we did that into Stockholm and walked around for a bit. We went to this Vasa Museum, and that's what this picture is of here. There we go. And it's the ship that had been built, and I don't remember all the details about it off the top of my head, but it was supposed to be like this really fearsome battleship, and they had like 50 cannons, and when you would open the cannon door things, they had like tight like lions or whatever, and I think it made it like 300 yards in the water, and then it literally just sank. And I think it was down for like 300 years or something like that before they finally pulled it back up. So this is just a little model of it. That way you get like the majority of the ship in the picture. And then that dinner after that we wandered around. We had lunch at this really cute cafe. We had a sandwich and a Nutella cheesecake. And then we went back to the ship, and that night we had dinner at Oceans, relaxed in a room, late night snacks, watched the news, kind of what our typical thing was. And then our last day was an at-sea day. We got to sleep in that day, and we were packing for the most part. We had lunch at Moderno, which is the Brazilian steakhouse like I mentioned earlier. They made it like during the day. I don't know if it was every day, but usually there was like a lunch buffet in there as well. And I think this day was like Greek food, so it was really, really delicious. And then we did some shopping on the ship, and then it was nap time because you know me and my naps. Finished packing, and then that night was our last of our like paid for restaurants, and we had dinner at Teppanyaki. And then we did the dessert at the buffet, but this was that hibachi style restaurant, so they get all like fancy and stuff like that, making the food. And then on Wednesday, we woke up back in Copenhagen. Turned out to be kind of a rough day for us. It was fine in the beginning until we got to the airport, and we got in and we like went through security, and we stopped and had coffee at this place called Retreat. And then we went and sat waiting for our flight, only to find out it was then canceled. And we then stood in line for 3 hours trying to get rebooked. It was a nightmare. I've never had to experience that before. Thank God my husband was like, this is not new for me, but it was still a long, long time. And originally we were just going to stay the night and then just kind of do the same trip the next day, which would have had us like traveling for like 15 hours or something like that, if not more, because it was going to be fly from Copenhagen to Heathrow, have a small layover in Heathrow, then Heathrow to Chicago, a layover there, and then home. And they had said, I had called my travel agent, and she had said, they may not, like, if you decide to like fly into London and do that tonight, they may not pay to put you up in a hotel. But British Airways was like, nope, you'll get vouchers for all that stuff. You'll get vouchers for food here and then there. So we ended up doing that. We had a couple hours to wait. So we just had dinner at a place called Murphy's, which was like an Irish pub in the airport. It was actually pretty good. And then we did our flight into London, and we stayed at a Holiday Inn in London, like right there on like the property of the airport. And they had like a little buffet set up for everybody. There was quite a few people. We were hanging out with this elderly couple because they were, you know, they were on the same flight as we were. We took the same like bus to our hotels and stuff. They were all in it together. And then they'd learned something about needing to get a taxi for the next day. So they were just like keeping us informed when they learned new things and whatnot. And originally if we'd been traveling, we would have gotten home like at midnight. But since we got it all changed, it was, we ended up getting at like 4:45, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which was really nice because then it was still daylight. I spent the entire flight into Chicago watching movies because I was wide awake. I did Inside Out, Get Out, Sweet Home Alabama, and Hustle. And I started Isn't It Romantic? But I couldn't finish it because we landed. So it was like 8 hours and I'm just like getting through all these movies. But again, when we got into our hometown, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. My dad picked us up and took us home. It was still daylight. It made it so much easier flying back home than it did flying to Europe. And so we were able to just like kind of start unpacking and then just trying to make it long enough to not fall asleep before like 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, I was like, okay, I can sleep now. So yeah, that is the rest of that trip. I'm going to go ahead and get this added in before I upload this to YouTube. You guys have a wonderful day and thanks for watching. Bye.